Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be talking about the approximately 1 minute new trailer that came out for Final Fantasy VII Remake out of PlayStation's State of Play. We got confirmation we will be hearing more about it next month at E3, which we were already suspecting considering there's a Final Fantasy VII themed orchestra like 2 days before E3 even begins. Now in this approximately 1 minute of footage, we continue to see them exploring more scenes from what I'm currently calling the Midgar arc of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I call it that because we still really don't know what the development process has been like since Final Fantasy VII Remake was pulled from the developers of .hack. Since it was pulled from them, we don't know if the game is still going to be releasing in their originally stated idea of an episodic format, where they were going to be releasing several games that would approximately last about 40 to 50 hours in order to actually get pieces of the project out in time for people to actually enjoy. This is something I think we really need to hear about next month at E3. I'm personally hoping that since they pulled it from a third-party developer to in-house at Square Enix, really hoping they moved away from the episodic format and they're just going to stick to what they're good at, because the whole reason they outsourced it the first time was because the other team was an expert in making multiple games that all stretch together with carrying progression throughout the games. Without that expertise, I'm kind of hoping Square Enix just goes back to sticking with a single game and a single release and not trying to do it in pieces. Now, regardless of any of the assumptions or speculation that's been going on, because we've been so information-starved on Final Fantasy VII Remake, the trailer looks good. It does a good job at getting me excited again, which is something I just haven't been able to do properly for a lot of Square Enix's longer-term projects like Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 15, 7 Remake also being on that list. It's too bad it takes them so many years to get out once they initially unveil the trailer, because it kills my hype a lot, but moments like this are the moments that I live for. Now, while Midgar looks great, Aerith looks great, English voice acting a little iffy, but maybe it's just me. The gameplay is probably the hottest topic in the trailer, because we've known for several years now that Final Fantasy VII Remake would not be a traditional turn-based RPG like the original Final Fantasy VII. We knew it would be moving to a more modern gameplay, something a little more action-oriented, but not Final Fantasy 15 style action, more like Crisis Core. And we really get that feeling from the trailer here. Now again, everything is in development, and who knows how it's going to change by the time we actually get a finished product, but it feels a lot more grounded, I suppose is the right word when I'm watching the trailer. He's blocking, counterattacking when there's proper opportunities. He's not just swinging around and dodging left and right. It feels very much like they want you to understand the enemies, their patterns, and actually play around them, understanding when it's right to play one character and when it's right to play another character. It's been a big thing that we've been hoping to confirm, is that you can actually swap characters. All the trailers that have had gameplay of any kind have had the player playing both Barret and Cloud, so we're hoping that it's something that you can freely change between in combat, and that's going to be very, very important for anyone who's a big fan of Final Fantasy VII. Of course, that opens up the question of how good is the AI in combat, because the last thing I want to do is go up against Ruby Weapon with two AI allies that basically become the Final Fantasy VII Remake equivalent of Donald and Goofy. Though to be fair, once you had Omni Slash and Double Summon Knights of the Brown, kind of just felt that way to whoever had that stuff anyway. Now, looking at the user interface when they're actually fighting, it does look like HP and MP values are actually adjusting to what's happening in combat, so I don't know if that's just them editing it, because very often when you make trailers like this, you usually kind of paste the developmental UI over things and it's not actually a functional UI. Not sure if that's what they're doing here, but we can at least start to tell certain other things that are going on with their current design for gameplay. One is actually giving you blocking and blocked values, which could of course open up builds that allow you to actually work into blocking, especially considering, Cloud still takes a pretty hefty amount of his health from one of the enemies when he blocks the attack. But you can also notice that at the bottom left, he has a basic attack, he has his Punisher attack, and then he has a command menu. So if you actually look at the place where HP and MP are, you can see that there's an HP value for each of the characters, there's an MP value for each of the characters, and then there's 2 bars. Now initially I would have assumed that those are limit break bars, and it could be that they function somewhat similarly, but it's very possible that this is how the ATB system of the game is going to be functioning, with having your basic attacks and one of your special attacks on your standard bar without you really needing to worry about where your ATB gauge stands, but over time in combat, and anything that might charge your ATB altogether opens up the command menu, and this is where we will probably see the use of things that are more familiar to us as limit breaks in Final Fantasy VII. I'm okay with this, because limit break replacing your basic attack in the original Final Fantasy VII was always something I found very tedious and not very fun when it came to the original gameplay. So shoring that up and giving it its own menu and its own button is something I definitely welcome for Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, another thing I couldn't help but notice was that despite not being in the gameplay and not being in any of the cutscenes of the trailer, that Tifa is in the party list for some of these fight scenes that we're seeing. Now, of course, Tifa's in the party list. You know, it's not like she's not going to be in the game. It's Final Fantasy VII. Of course she's in the game. But I'm wondering why she's not ready to be shown. It's most likely that they just don't have her combat assets done, or they don't have cutscenes animated or recorded or things like that. And it's most likely that they just don't have the assets ready to actually show Tifa in a presentable state. I've seen some other people suggesting some other things since the trailer dropped. One is that potentially they're just trying to hype her up. You know, E3 is right around the corner. We know we're going to be learning more. This trailer was very much focused on Aerith and introducing her and her design for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So it wouldn't be too far-fetched to assume that Tifa's just going to get her own trailer where she's kind of the focus. Not like alone, but like she's going to be the big hype moment of that trailer. She's a super important character, and she deserves her own trailer where she gets unveiled and they show off all her gameplay elements. The other one I've seen, and something I almost didn't want to include in this video, but I've already gotten DMs about it despite being like an hour to an hour and a half since this trailer actually went live, is that they could be potentially changing her design to some degree. I think it's within reason to expect she's not going to look exactly the same as the original Final Fantasy VII. I, of course, always imagined she'd be more like Advent Children or one of their other 3D outings with Tifa. People are concerned that she kind of has the Lara Croft syndrome, where her PlayStation 1 proportions might not necessarily translate directly into the modern era. But I mean, Lara Croft, they had no problem modernizing, and I don't think they'll have any issue with Tifa either. I think it's just a matter of her assets not being ready in regards to being shown for gameplay or any of that. So I'm not worried about what people have been messaging me on Twitter, and I swear I have a Twitter team that says this. Downsizing. Oh, God. All right, whatever. I'm not concerned about that. I just want it to be a good game, okay? I'm not my primary concern. I'm hoping that we get to see Tifa in action at E3 or sometime in the next several months. You know, they said they have their plan set all the way up through launch for what they're going to be doing. That's not clear. But anyway, my excitement is back for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I really need a home run when it comes to some of these titles that Square Enix is putting out. I've got my Final Fantasy XIV. Kingdom Hearts 3 was okay for me at the very least, and Critical Mode is definitely helping with that. Final Fantasy 15, after all the updates, was significantly improved, but I want an out the park, out the case, good experience for Final Fantasy VII Remake, so we're going to be paying attention to this one super closely. Let me know what you saw in the trailer. Did you see anything that I missed? Anything that you would have liked to have heard me comment on in regards to the development, in regards to the combat? Let me know in the comment section of the video below. Anyway, thank you for watching this. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned, because when E3 rolls around, you could be damn well sure we'll be doing another video about 7 Remake. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.